All right, so welcome back. You're still watching Prime Morning here. Time for us to do Beyond the Headlines. Now, in recent times, you've all probably monitored what is happening between Russia and Ukraine, which has greatly affected fuel prices and the price of crude oil in the markets. But internally, right here in Ghana as well, we have our own set of challenges that have already hit the pumps. And earlier on, you do recall that there was a strike action by some members in the transportation sector, especially the drivers, on concerns with the fuel pumps and the fuel prices at the pumps. And that even went into a stakeholder conversation where there was a proposed 70% increment on transport fares, later on slashed down to 30% and now at 15%. But still, we are still in the woods with regards to increment on fuel prices, and greatly it looks like we are not yet out of the woods. It's still going to go on. But the concerns is that will the transport fares keep going up? And people on the street are also talking and also raising concerns about the price of the transport fares, which was even recently released, or probably about 24 hours ago, was released. I'm very sure you've caught up with it on social media as well, on the new prices that people are going to face today. But over the weekend, we did hit the streets to find out, from passengers as well, on what they think about the current prices of transport. Let's go into that short one. When we come back, we'll get into conversations more right here on Beyond the Headlines.
Over the past few weeks, there has been consistent increase in fuel prices. An increase recently of 25 pesos per litre has saw both petrol and diesel being sold far above 7 cedis 50 pesos at the pumps. As announced earlier by the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council, there will be an increment of 15% in transport fares starting today. I am here at the Kanishi Lorry Station to interact with drivers and passengers to know their take. So join me, let's interact.
We realize that the past months, the frequent price increase in fuel has had negative effects, on the income that the driver generates each day. So this new lorry fare that has taken effect from today is a kind of relief, though it's not so adequate. It's not big enough to cushion the problem as we wish, but in a way it's going to, give us some relief. So I don't think, though it may have some negative effects on their, money, the income, the transport fare to go to their destination, but we hope they'll be able to adjust in course of time. I will appeal to the government, though they have their own way of doing things, they should also consider the passengers. Day in and day out, the people take vehicles to their various places for business, for their daily activities, and they need transport at all costs. So if the fuel increase keep coming, it will continuously have effects on the little money that they are going to spend on the transport. So I will appeal to the government to, if possible, cut down the taxes on petroleum taxes so that they will be able to contain the situation.
No, what to talk to few maybe a demonstration. I don't know. Because I last week, no information that 26th of this month, new first beba, I have 15%. And Sindrana, painful, what they price first, not the bride, Cape Coast, Takra, Bogoso, my head and the pedamon. But on the past energy, Cassabia, you are about the Biso, Abia. Lord for and every one person, my chief crowd look at the for petrol to me that bay. Nam said, I won't see Ghana, you might remain say, as first in Crampono, wedding covered my 1 week before I did the matter. Jabama on the crowd before Casakas are rough off. Before I listen if I'm a so, I couldn't to be so honor. What's just all come so? I can't see apart from one problem, you have BB call.
Already no na yempin for na din kan announce dada. Nti since an appear started say ye dey adman there problem bia yen face problem bia wa. Bia cause pepe bia ba na ye ka che no a. Otua ne pepe say me ya kan no a. See Accra to Cape Coast. First na ye air condition na ye 35. And then air condition ye 30. and the statistics here so fair ne buy no na air condition here 40 na air condition here 35 will be able to meet your pepe yeah problem here.
The increase is good, but we need government to do a little bit something for we Ghanaians. Because now things are very hard and difficult. Some of them are collecting 50, some of them are collecting 10 cedi. We need a normal fare, the one price. Because this morning there's a difficult. People argue, people are fighting, but it's not fair. So government should come out and tell the drivers and the union to collect one fare, so that everybody who understood it. There's a one fare.
Looking at the increase in fare, even though it's going to help the transport industry, we as normal Ghanaians, my problem is, are they also going to increase the take-home salary of the individuals? Because if you are increasing petrol and then the fares also, what are the normal Ghanaians also going to do? If we have a balance, as in they've increased fare and also they increase the take-home salary of individuals, we realize that it balances. Just a week ago, I came to Accra, it was I think 55 cedis. Then this morning you come in 60 cedis. It's affecting everyone. So if the government can also help the normal Ghanaians so that they too will have an increment in salary also, so that we know that everything has balanced now.
I think the increments in the fuel is too high because initially going to Cape Coast, the price was moderate, but today when I got here, I paid 35 cedis. Yeah, so I think it's too much. The government have to do something about it. Because some of them or some of us are students. You see, and you are not working. And majority of the youth too are not working. So if the increment is going high like this, I think it will disturb, especially with the passengers and the youth that are coming.
I'm traveling to Prestia. Yeah, the fare used to be 60 Ghana cedis, but today when we came, it has been increased to 70 Ghana cedis. In fact, it has affected us a lot. Yeah, because we are also having luggages and those things too. They have increased the price, so it affected us a lot. So we are pleading to the government to do something about it, because in fact it's worrying. So we are pleading to the government to do something about it.
I'm traveling to Takwa, and I'm a student at the University of Mines. In fact, today when I go to the station, I've been shocked. The increment is very high. On the side of we the students going to school all the time, paying this very high price, I think it's not good. So our appeal to the government at least to do something about it.
Well, so those are concerns raised by passengers as well as even the drivers in the transportation sector with regards to the 15% increment on fuel prices and 15% increment on transport fares. Now, on standby, I have Mr. Samuel Amwa. He's a communications team member of GPRTU. Join me this morning. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Franklin,
Good morning. Can you hear me, Mr. Samuel Amwa? So we're still trying to establish connection with him this morning. If you can hear me, sir, can you please unmute your microphone so we can have the conversation with you? If you can hear me, kindly unmute your microphone. And while he's at that, though. So this morning as well, we picked up a press release from road transport operators. It says here that in line with the administrative arrangement on public transport fares, the road transport operators, after intense negotiations with stakeholders and in consideration the plight of drivers, commuters and the general public, have agreed to increase public fares by 15%. Do I have Mr. Amwan back on the line? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, great. So what has been the reaction from passengers probably this morning with regards to the 15% increment?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me say a quick good morning to your viewers. What we are experiencing now is that some of the passengers are complaining, and the complaining is not about why the commuters, the drivers has increased their fare by 15%, but the complaints is about the current, the current price of the petroleum product, because they know that for the past time, for some few months ago, we were talking about the hikes of the petroleum product, why the fuel prices, and then we were also talking about if the government can be able to scrap some taxes, from the petroleum products, so that we will not think of increasing lorry fare. And all these things have been done, but yet there has not been any reduction on the petroleum product. So at the moment, yes, the passengers are complaining about where the prices, the fare is now. But then the complaints are mainly on the petroleum product, not specifically on why the drivers are increasing the lorry fares. I think that is how it is now.
So are we expecting, because there'll definitely be another increment in fuel prices. Are we expecting also increments in transport fares as these fuel prices go up?
Yes, thank you very much. By the time we went for the negotiation, you remember we were expecting 30%. But then after the dialogue, we were giving 15%. And we were complaining that, yes, we know that from day by day, the petroleum product is going up. And should it go up again, it's going to affect our business. So that is where we had the agreement that, whenever the fuel is being increased by 10%, we, the transport operators, also had the opportunity to increase our fares. So the agreement.
Well, we'll try to establish connection there. We've been talking to Mr. Samuel Amwa. He's the communications team member for GPRTU, sharing insights into the reactions. Okay, sir, if we've got you back on, you were saying?
Yes, what I was trying to say is that should the petroleum product goes up to 10% again, then the fares will automatically go up again. So that is the agreement we had with the
Okay, so we're having challenges with Mr. Amwes. Okay.
That the current petroleum product, the current price of the fuel now, if it goes up to, I think, 10%, then we will have no option than to increase our lorry fares again.
Is there any permanent solution to this, or stakeholder conversations with government, to have a flat fee? We heard one of the passengers even sharing that opinion and option as well, to have certain flat fees with this, so that the fluctuations doesn't also come hard on passengers.
Yes, that is why we were on the taxes that are on the petroleum product. We were specifically talking about those taxes that we think the government can either reduce it or to scrap it, so that the prices will come down. Because we know that looking at the petroleum product from outside countries, it is high. So those that goes out there to go and buy and bring it down to this country, when they go and they get it at a higher price, they also come and sell it to we the consumer at that same higher cost. So that is why we are telling the government that they should look into the taxes. They should see to it that those taxes will be taken off, so that the fuel price will be at least stable. Else, we the transport operators will also not have anything to do than to increase our lorry fares.
So when you presented a 30% and you came back to the drivers with the 15%, what was their reaction as well?
Come again, please.
So when you presented 30%, to government as the rate for increment, what was and coming back to the drivers with 15%, what was their reaction as well?
Yes, the drivers were disappointed in the leadership. They were saying that the leadership didn't help them. The reason being that, looking at where the petroleum product is now, and looking at where spare parts, lubricant, and other components that we use to run our businesses, all those, all those components have gone up. And then, whenever a driver buys fuel in his vehicle, goes to work and come back, all the monies that the driver will get will go into the fuel again. So presenting the 15% to the drivers, they were a little bit disappointed, but we keep advising them, we keep encouraging them that yes, this is the agreement we've had with the government, that if it goes up to another 10% again, definitely we have to go back and a dialogue for another increment of the lorry fares. But this morning, are the drivers complying with this as well as the passengers? Have you had any scuffles of any sort? Oh, not yet, because when we were given the 15%, we gave some enough time for all the unions, all the various stations to arrange and put all those recent or the current prices on paper for all the passengers to know. And then we think that this information has gone down. So at the moment we are not experiencing any problem as to maybe some drivers are charging high or whatever. But it's not all the drivers are with a union. Some of them are floating drivers. That is where we are using that opportunity to be talking to the floating drivers that they should comply strictly by the 15% that we have all agreed upon, so that there will not be any confusion on our roads. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Amwa. He's the communication team's member for GPRTU. Thank you very much. We'll definitely come back to you, sir, when there is another increment or need for another increment, and we can have more conversations on this. Thank you very much. So now we have to drill down to the root cause of probably the problem, if you say. Let's go. We'll be talking about the issues in Russia and Ukraine and how it's affecting us. Now, over the weekend, in the past 72 hours as well, we saw videos of some various nationals, especially blacks, who were trying to evacuate Ukraine. Well, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Ghana has been on its end trying to evacuate quite a number of Ghanaians. We have a short clip from the ministry with regards to the numbers of people or Ghanaians that have been evacuated and expected in the country. Let's watch this.
Today, 27th of February, information gathered was that about over 460 students have left Ukraine en route to Poland, Hungary, Romania, Slovakia, and Czech Republic. The students will be received by officials of our diplomatic missions, honorary consuls, and officials of the students' union or associations. We are pleased to provide the breakdown of those who have exited Ukraine as follows. 132 have arrived in Bucharest, Romania, and our officer on the ground is preparing tickets for some of them to leave tomorrow to Accra. Reason why I say some of them is because the distance between the holding area and the city itself is, I'm told, over 500 kilometers. Am I correct? And so some of them are on their way to the city. At the moment, he has with him 24 of them who are at the airport, and he's trying to get them on Qatar Airways to Accra. Some are being processed at the holding area, and I'm told about 60 of them are going through border formalities. So they're on the other side of the Ukraine border, going through border formalities to get into Romania. 38, having crossed into Poland, are with our officials. We are currently also making arrangements for those who are willing to be assisted to get on flights. 25 persons en route to Prague from Slovakia were assisted by the honorary consul and will be received on entry by the mission in Prague. 25 just this morning arrived in Hungary and are being sheltered at the Pentecostal Church in Budapest. 85 of our compatriots are being assisted by our embassy in Moscow to cross the border town of Sumy into Russia, which I indicated earlier, is creating or pose serious difficulties. The crossing is quite a difficult task at the moment. Our officials from the Moscow embassy are doing all they can to get them to cross so that we can also assist them onto flights to Accra. These numbers are bound to increase in a few days as we observe the team spirit being displayed by our people, our citizens, our students. They are reaching out to each other, setting up group WhatsApp chats, sharing important phone numbers of consular officers and other personalities who could be of assistance, and also the cascading effects of the initiatives. A most gratifying and heartwarming message, such as "we are safe now," I've received several, could not have come at a better time. We hope for better days as the ministry further engages our diplomatic missions and honorary consulates to extend consular assistance to our compatriots. Ghana has also put in place the necessary package to facilitate transportation, accommodation, feeding, medical support, flights, etc., to ease any burden on our people. With all the collaborative efforts, I'm pleased to inform you that a good number, over 220 of our compatriots, have exited Ukraine and should be with us in Ghana soon, and we are earnestly facilitating the safe return of a lot more. Midday.
So that is the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Shirley Ayokoboche, giving us updates on the evacuation processes and the numbers so far gathered. But let's go straight to Hoto Joseph Kwabla, who is currently in Hungary, to give us a quick update on what the situation is there as well with regards to him and others. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning.
Well, thank you for joining us as well. I'm looking at your face and I see a bit of tiredness and some stress and depression. Tell us, where are you now exactly?
I'm at Hungary, especially Budapest.
Okay, so how did you get there?
In fact, it wasn't easy at all. It wasn't easy. We started the journey from Ukraine. That was Thursday. So we spent 4 days from Ukraine to Hungary, Budapest. You know, when we start from the Ukraine, we reach Ukraine border. That's Ukraine to Hungary border. We thought things would have been easier for us because we had an information that the government is in collaboration with, or they informed them. But unfortunately, when we reached there, they didn't allow us. We have to go back to their train station and go and get a ticket, of which each person will pay 130 hryvnia. After that, before they check our passport, and then they stamp our passport before they allow us. In fact, we reached there 9:15 p.m. We have to stand there without even sitting. Buying a ticket alone took us about 5 hours. Then after the ticket, and then we went to the immigration. After passing the immigration, we stood there. I got the time. We stood there from 10:30 to 11 p.m. We were standing there till the next morning, 6 a.m. before we were able to board the train to Hungary border. And then when we reached the Hungary border, they also checked our passport in a train before we came out. And then the Hungary border, they've given a free ticket, not for Ghanaians alone, all the countries. When you arrive there, they will give you a free ticket to wherever part of the Hungary you want to go. So when you want to go to Budapest, they will give you that free ticket. And then they will also give us pieces of bread with some margarine for us to take.
So currently, where are you lodging? Are you with family? Are you in a hotel?
Yeah, I'm in a hotel. The name of the hotel is Dean's College Hotel. In fact, when we arrive at Ukraine, when we've arrived at the Budapest. Now we've arrived at Budapest exactly 1:15 p.m. That is in the afternoon. And then we met the Ghana students, some of the Ghanaian students in Hungary. One guy, he said he's the president of the Ghanaian students in Hungary here. Mm-hmm. And then they took us to a Pentecost church, which I believe the church belongs to the student. And so when they took us there, they also prayed for us. And then they've given us some biscuit and bread we bring
Joseph,
in the afternoon.
Joseph, let me cut in and ask you this. So you had mentioned earlier on that you had heard from certain sources that there was a Ghanaian, not to say a delegation, but there was someone who was, had given information that Ghana was trying to evacuate its nationals. Let me find out from you, have you had any contact with the person on the ground, or do you know who is handling this coordinating of the people to evacuate, Ghanaians to evacuate Ukraine?
To be frank, this issue, when I heard the issue last night, I was so angry because looking at the situation on the ground now, even some of our leaders there, when you get a free chance before to be able to communicate with your friend or other student, are you safe? But I can't say that somebody is on the ground looking at this situation, leading or giving information. We are all giving. When you heard something, you push it to your friend. When we arrived at Hungary yesterday, before I saw that guy, I even forgot his name because of how I've become so frustrated. So he said he's the president of a Ghanaian student here. In fact, when I heard the issue or the news, I was so angry. Who can even boldly to say that he or she is the one leading this issue until we reached Hungary yesterday? Even some of our colleagues are on the way, struggling. They have to, some are even calling me, Joseph, some even reach to Poland, but they couldn't go through. They call me, they have to direct them. Some of them, they've arrived at Hungary border right now, and they even call me, have to give them direction. So please, those who are giving wrong info, they should make this thing. We have to make sure our colleagues and friends are safe. Nobody should be giving a false or false information. Please. Okay,
hold on.
I'm so
yes, I can understand.
So about that. You have to make sure our friends and then our brothers are saved. So if you don't have a vivid information, don't put it on air. Nobody should put it on air. I'm stressing on this issue because when I heard the issue yesterday, I was so, I was so angry. I was like, how come? Because from Ukraine to Hungary, it's like, it became like you have to like cry your own cry. Let me put it that way. Because we couldn't find it easy on the way until we reached Hungary yesterday. Before that, we are about 25 students who arrived here. We've been in the Pentecost church for a number of hours before even the church members who move us to, how do you call it, the hotel, the deacon of the church. Those that said they are the people who lead that. They came that they are the student president or whatever.
Joseph,
but
hold on.
A few hours, we've not seen them again.
Yeah, Joseph, hold on for me. Please hold the line for me. Just don't go. We'll still be talking to you on this. I want to get a fair sense of what was happening in Ukraine before you took off as well. But just hold on for me. I have Adib Sani in the studio this morning with me as well, foreign policy and security expert. Adib, welcome to the show. I know you're beat for time though, but what do you make of the conflicting information that we are picking from, from Joseph, as well as what the Foreign Affairs Ministry is saying?
Well, indeed, it is confusing, but my biggest beef with the Foreign Affairs Ministry is them waiting until things get out of control before they start approaching issues in a knee-jerk manner. Even if our research department, which is the CIA of Ghana under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, couldn't gather the necessary...
Okay, let me just, I've been informed that just a quick technical hitch there. We'll work on the microphone for shortly for us to hear. But let me just get back to Joseph real quickly. Joseph, are you there with us?
Yes, please.
Okay, Joseph, before you left Ukraine, what was the situation like?
Okay, before I left Ukraine, the situation was so, but like as I said earlier, for me, we slept at the underground, that's the train station, until the thing became so severe, and then we have to run to wherever you have to find our way out from Ukraine. So that's where the journey started.
Okay.
So it fight for, like, cry your own cry. But we are still in communication with each other, like those that you know. You know, it's not we, the student alone. Some of the Ghanaians are also there, they're not the students. But since you get to know the person, you have to get the person's contact and you'll be checking up on him, or if only you get the chance. Because it wasn't easy. Sometimes you even forget about your friend.
Joseph, hold on right there for me again. Adib, so we're saying, I mean, we're hearing what Joseph is saying, and you were talking about your displeasure with the ministry and how...
Absolutely. It is sad that we're having to contend with this, especially at the time that things already appear volatile. But like I indicated earlier, my biggest issue with the ministry is why they have to wait until things escalate, get out of control before they start addressing issues in a knee-jerk manner. If the research department under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs...
Okay, Adiba, sorry, I apologize. I'll have to put you on hold there. But let me just go back to the statement from the ministry, from Minister of Foreign Affairs again, whilst we get this resolved as well. We'll be right back.
7th of February. Information gathered was that about over 460 students have left Ukraine en route to Poland, Hungary, Romania, Slovakia, and Czech Republic. The students will be received by officials of our diplomatic missions, honorary consuls, and officials of the students' union or associations. We are pleased to provide the breakdown of those who have exited Ukraine as follows. 132 have arrived in Bucharest, Romania, and our officer on the ground is preparing tickets for some of them to leave tomorrow to Accra. Reason why I say some of them is because the distance between the holding area and the city itself is, I'm told, over 500 kilometers. Am I correct? And so some of them are on their way to the city. At the moment, he has with him 24 of them who are at the airport, and he's trying to get them on Qatar Airways to Accra. Some are being processed at the holding area, and I'm told about 60 of them are going through border formalities. So they're on the other side of the Ukraine border, going through...
Well, I must apologize for the technical hitch there this morning. Please bear with us. But I'm talking to Adib Sani again. Adib, so you were saying, let's just quickly roll over.
Exactly. Okay, so if the research department under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration wasn't able to gather enough intelligence that points to an imminent attack, I would have thought that they could have, to some extent, relied on Western intelligence that has been hammering home the idea that, yes, indeed, Vladimir Putin intended attacking. And at that same time, we had a number of countries evacuating their citizens. So I think we had that unique window of opportunity to evacuate Ghanaians. Unfortunately, we had to just sit aloof and watch until things became precarious. Even if the airspace was opened, I think it would still be a dangerous thing trying to fly them out, owing to the fact that we're in a conflict situation and anything flying is seen as a threat. Remember flight MH17, which was downed by Russian-backed separatists in eastern Ukraine, resulting in the death of about 293 people. And of course, when Iran also intended hitting back at the US, they downed the civilian airliner. So at this time, things have become so dangerous. The only thing we can do is to, as much as we can, get them out of the danger zone, and those we cannot, we need to give them information if they have to hunker down, if they have to follow certain simple protocols.
What could have been, since you mentioned protocols, what could have been the reasons for this possible delay, if we can describe it as that, you know, in having our citizens evacuated?
I think it all boils, I mean, for want of a better word, inefficiency. If we were proactive enough, I think things would have been better. Unfortunately, it is inefficiency that leads to reactiveness, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
What is likely to happen now, you know, looking at this situation? Does it look like there's an end goal to it anytime soon?
Two things. One, either we have Putin taking over Kiev and withdrawing his troops. By then, the letter has been served to the fact that, hey, we are a force to reckon with. Or he takes over, displaces the government and puts in place a puppet regime, and hopefully the fighting would end. What
is your advice on situations like this with, I don't want to call the nationals refugees because they're seeking asylum in other countries, but what should be their, what should be the things they need to be cautious of, and what should they do in instances and situations like this?
When it happens this way, I think the first thing they need to take into consideration is to keep a low profile, is to stay indoors as much as they can. The Ukrainian authorities imposed the curfew, but as at this morning, I understand it's been revoked because people had to get, you know, resupply, sort of. Secondly, they also have to follow the protocols that have been announced by the host authorities. Because, for example, the Ukrainian authorities have announced that in the night, as much as people can, they should switch off the lights so they don't become potential targets. The Ghana High Commission in Switzerland has also given information to the effect that if you are moving around, carry a backpack with some supplies, of course, with your Ghanaian passport. Okay, so by following these, you know, protocols, I'm pretty sure that they will be able to keep themselves safe until such
then
time.
Overall, in this conflict zone that we find ourselves, I mean, some sanctions have been put on Russia. We've heard of frozen assets and certain banks. We've also heard of the EU has banned flights. You know, yes, some products have been banned. Still, of some products, Russian products have been banned in some countries as well. Are these sanctions, do you think they're actually going to be enough to put, you know, President Vladimir Putin on hold?
Well, I mean, President Vladimir Putin is not such a dumb person. I mean, before you go into a war situation, you should have done some risk assessment. Obviously, if he attacks Ukraine, you would have these sanctions. And I'm pretty sure his advisors should have by now penned on paper what the sanctions, the sanctions they will be expecting. But so far, I think the most crippling one would be the ban from the SWIFT system. But it is instructive to note that it's not exhaustive. It is some banks that have been removed from the SWIFT system. At the same time, the energy sector is not affected, because how would Europe pay for the gas? And without the gas, I mean, they cannot survive, okay? Then, of course, we have some asset freezes and all that, but I don't think it's enough to deter Vladimir Putin, because they might have thought about all of these. Besides, the only countries in the world, 3 countries that are out of the SWIFT system is Iran, Venezuela, and North Korea. But they've survived. Do you know why? Because they are able to bypass. You see, the Americans and other Western countries imposing arms embargoes on countries where there's fighting. And believe it or not, you see a lot of these Toyota Land Cruisers with mounted machine guns, and you wonder where they get it from, because we have a sophisticated network of certain individuals and entities who are able to help countries bypass these sanctions regime, and they are still able to survive.
Africa's dependency on some of these strong Western countries, you know, for various assets and products, it's increasingly a worry. What does this go to say about what we need to be doing, you know, now? Because clearly it trickles down to our pumps, and we are seeing the rippling effect. What is the way forward on things like this for us?
I think we need to start looking more inwardly. I mean, trade amongst African countries is not as progressive, it's not as big as trade between Africa and other continents, and I think that is worrying. If we are able, for example, you know, considering in Ghana the amount of oil we produce, able to process this oil for local, a lot of it for local consumption, I don't think international dynamics, market dynamics would affect us much. If you're able to trade amongst ourselves, if you're able to improve agric, I think that would help. For example, even though Russia and Ukraine account for only 2% of the global GDP, they account for a large, you know, percentage of wheat export to other countries, particularly North African countries. And wheat is used to produce bread, and bread is a political issue because it's a staple for many Arabs. For example, Omar al-Bashir in Sudan was ousted because bread prices had gone up. Okay, so if we are able to improve our agric, if we are able to improve the manufacturing sector in Africa, I'm sure it would reduce our over-reliance on the West, which would give us a lot of benefits going into the future.
So how else should the world be responding to this? Constant interventions into this space? And I mean, clearly Putin has put his feet down to say that, look, he is going to go ahead with his plans, regardless. And looking at, you know, what he did earlier on with, is it Crimea, and all that, clearly the agenda has been set. How is the world must the world react and respond to this?
Okay, so I think we cannot do much, but to just call on the authorities to get back to the negotiation table. Fortunately, we have negotiations, I think, almost ongoing at the Ukraine-Belarusian border. I asked your producers to display a map.
Yes, we did. It's actually on the screen now.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we need to, first of all, get into the nuances. Why would Russia want to annex Ukraine in the first place? Okay, so you see, NATO was a Western thing with the Americans and the Western Europeans, you know, France, Belgium, what do you call it, the UK and the rest, okay? But since Putin came into power, okay, we've seen 4 waves of NATO expansionism into Eastern Europe.
Of concern to him now.
Exactly. So under him, he's allowed Hungary, Slovakia, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, which are former USSR countries, okay, join NATO. And what is even of grave concern is the fact that even Latvia and Estonia have joined NATO, which is very close for comfort. Okay, so now there seems to be a buffer of some sort between Russia and NATO, and that is Ukraine and Belarus. And we know that Belarus is almost Russian because the government there is very much in tune with the Russian government. But now, when Ukraine joins NATO, what it means is the US and other countries can move all their military arsenal into Ukraine. And later in life, they might use it as a staging post against Russian interests. And that is what no country would accept. I mean, so 1962...
export of oil from Russia would have to go through Ukraine.
Absolutely. So okay. We have the Nord Stream 1 and the Nord Stream 2. Okay. Where I think one of it goes through Ukraine, the other doesn't. Okay. And like I indicated, no country would accept that, because that is even what caused the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. When the US in 1961 tried to invade Cuba using dissidents, Cuban dissidents based in the US, it resulted in what we call the Bay of Pigs invasion, which was a total, catastrophe for the Americans and their allies. As a result, in 1962, the Russians, reacting to the movement of missiles by the US to Turkey and Italy decided to also move their missiles to Cuba, which the Americans said no, it's not going to happen. Okay, so it is of geopolitical and security expedience to keep your so-called enemies, your perceived enemies, at bay, at an arm's length. Okay, so that is exactly Russia is seeking to do. They don't want Ukraine to be part of NATO because it would make Russia susceptible to NATO, and that is exactly what they don't want. Secondly, Putin has issues with the way Gorbachev and Boris Yeltsin ran the USSR, allowing these small countries, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, and the rest to secede. Okay, so he said, no, we have to reassert Russian dominance in not just the East, but globally. And that's exactly what he's doing. When you listen to foreign media outlets, they keep talking about Russia being a dwindling force and all that. But now they are reasserting their dominance in that region and even beyond, because we have the Wagner Group, which is a Russian mercenary group operating in Mali. And I think he had mentioned earlier on that he's not comfortable with the new Nazis as well, operatives, you know, and he said Ukraine is corrupt, and he suspects, you know, allegiance with NATO and all, and these are crazy. But I mean, if Latvia and Estonia have been given up, I mean, then Ukraine shouldn't be a problem, isn't it? No. I mean, Ukraine would be the biggest blow to the Russians if they even considering the length of the borders between the two countries. Besides, there's an interest there as well, because the Donbas region, which is home to a lot of Russian-speaking Ukrainians, and the Donbas region is made up of two territories, the Donetsk and Luhansk. Okay, so Russia actually went into Ukraine under the pretext of ensuring that the Russians in Ukraine are safe. That is on the heel of the takeover of Crimea in 2014, which, by the way, formerly belonged to Russia. But Stalin gave it out to Ukraine as a sign of friendliness. So the Russians decided to take over. But I don't know what happened all of a sudden. A so-called special operation to ensure the safety of Russian speakers in Ukraine has become a full-blown war. Well, I have a lot of questions to ask, but unfortunately, because Adib has other engagements, I have to let him loose on this. But thank you very much. I had so many questions to also look at whether it's going to be a Putin win or it's going to be a world win on nobody, this. Nobody can win. And you know, I'm sorry to say, but there's a lot of ignorance out there. People are going like, why doesn't NATO intervene? No, don't make that mistake, because there's a gentleman understanding between for example, Russia and the US. They both have presence in Syria, but they respect each other's space. Before the Americans bombed, they informed the Russians, and vice versa, okay? And these are two nuclear-armed countries. And by the way, for your information, Russia has half of the whole world's nuclear arsenal. Okay, and Russia in 1963 tested the most powerful nuclear bomb ever made. It's called the Tsar bomber, and it's an hydrogen bomb, and it is thousands of times more powerful than Hiroshima and Nagasaki put together. I was about to ask. They had to reduce it to its barest minimum to even be able to test it. And what in essence it meant is, if it was tested in Tamale, for example, you feel it right here in Accra, and they have a lot of it in stockpile, so you wouldn't want to go there. Well, we definitely don't want to get to that point in time, but interesting analysis there. Thank you very much, Adib. I'm going to go back to Joseph, who's still on standby with me. Joseph, are you there?
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much for holding on with us. Joseph, so now that you find yourself, where you are, who's taking care of you, and what do you think is going to happen to you next? Are you also going to evacuate and possibly come to Ghana?
Yeah, ideally that's my plan. And then now I can boldly say that the Pentecost Church, they are taking care of us now.
The Pentecost Church is taking care of you now?
Yes, please.
In terms of food supplies, accommodation, do you mean you are paying for it? Are they paying for it, or just limited to food supplies?
Oh, they pay for the accommodation and then the food supply yesterday.
So how many days do you have at the hotel?
currently, I came here yesterday, and then they asked me that when am I leaving? I didn't give them any dates yet. I said they should give me by the close of today, because when I reached the border, everybody was giving 68 days. Sorry, 68 days to stay in Hungary.
So, when do you intend to leave? Have you gotten in touch with any Ghanaian on the ground on the evacuation, coordinating the evacuation?
Oh yeah, currently, yesterday I was thinking, my plan was I want to book a ticket for myself and then probably come and see my relatives, my family, and my loved one in Ghana, for them to see that God has done it for us. Before I would think of another thing, but as at now, I'm still thinking what steps should take next.
Don't you think leaving there completely and coming back home in the interim till things die down will be a better option?
Yes, it would be a better option, because I heard, I don't know how true it is, but my school, they said we'll be doing online until things have become normal, then we can come back.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Really appreciate your time with us, and please take care of yourself out there. We can't wait to see you back home.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So those were updates there, picking up Joseph's conversation as well, giving us a clear picture of what's happening on the ground as well. And thanks to Adib Sani joining us this morning for our conversations on the way forward. All right, so coming up next will be our profile interview. You shouldn't miss this one. Now, just to watch this and keep glued to our screens.
I wish I was a bank from a cockle. Maybe did it just the Putin and then Ukraine for a trade. If you are nowhere to walk, but you have my dear cranty, a solid power. And I must say, and I'm fish are heavy. And the account so own about him. I got claim accounts in Munina. You didn't let you for the third word war, but I mean, this can be our bank.
Well, the scene needed introduction, and that's